Welcome back. Today we will discuss another interesting module, Science Library and Laboratory. D.S. Kothari has said, to learn science is to do science. There is no other way of doing science. A well-equipped science library should be the primary requisite of every school. Secondary Education Commission has suggested that every teacher should be well equipped with the collection of books for their growth and expansion of knowledge. The quality of books finally determines the quality of teachers and the strength of knowledge that is transferred to the students. The position of the library in promoting knowledge can be correlated to the works of laboratory in delivering practical knowledge to the students. One of the important functions of science laboratory is that deepening of the students' understanding scientific concepts and applications are closely related to their own natural environment. Science library and science laboratory are the two important places for the science students in their school life where teachers should have to take care of. Science library. Science library is an essential part in science learning process. Science library should be kept separate from the general library under the charge of science teachers. Science being one of the most important areas of the school curriculum, the content which rapidly goes on changing, both teachers and pupils should have to concentrate more on updating their knowledge. This can be done by reading books only. The library books should be supplement what has been taught in the class. The books must such as to provoke thinking and discussion, to develop interest in matters of science, to stimulate further reading, to help to articulate and elucidate scientific concepts and problems, to suggest further problems and to give insight into the social implications and contributions of science. Science library should have books on various branches of science, on invention and discoveries, on hobbies and leisure, reference materials, advanced textbooks, popular and standard journals, and on many other areas that directly and indirectly relate to science. Objectives of organizing a science library: to help teachers and pupils to update scientific knowledge. Second, to facilitate self-studies and learning to learn. Third, to enrich curricular experiences. And next, to enable pupils to participate in discussion and project work meaningfully. Fifth, to make co-curricular activities such as participation in science club activities more meaningful and dynamic. Next, to create interest in science as a subject of study. Seventh, to develop the habit of concentrated reading of knowledgeable books with a purpose. Next, to develop in the students critical attitude and capacity for independent judgment. Next, to develop the habit of reading as a useful leisure time activity. Organization of science library. A well-equipped science library should be the primary requisite of every school. It is a matter of controversy whether the science library should be kept separate from the general school library under the charge of science teacher or should form a part of the general library. The different aspects of organization of science library are: a separate science library under the charge of science teacher should be an integral part of the science department. The library should be organized adjacent to the science classrooms for the immediate reference of teachers and students. Science teacher should concentrate on the fund of organization of the library. The science grants available to the school can be utilized for this. The money can be generated from the donations and other available resources. Science library should have almirahs, shelves, table, and if possible there should be place for reading also with desks and benches. Colorful bulletin boards should be placed to attract people to library. Membership should be provided to members and teachers should inculcate the love for reading and ability to use reference books. People should be asked to write the review of the books they read. Science books and articles should be constantly reviewed by both the teacher and the pupil, and good reviewers should be published in science magazines or school magazine. A cross-reference index may be maintained in which teachers and pupils should briefly indicate the information furnished in books read by them under suitable headings. Library should be divided in various sections as suggested below. Textbook, for example, Organic Chemistry by I.L. Finar. Background books, for examples, The Story of Moon, The Story of Earth, The Human Machine, The Story of Penicillin, The Story of Steam Engine, etc. Inspirational books, Wonders of Pond Life, The Harvest of Sea, The Romance of Chemistry, Biographies, etc. Reference books like Common Birds, Common Plants, A Dictionary of Science, An Encyclopedia of Science, History of Science, Science magazines, Vigyan Shishak, published from Delhi, a quarterly English magazine. Science Reporter, again published from Delhi, monthly English magazine. Science Today, published from Mumbai, a monthly English magazine. School Science, published by NCERT Delhi, quarterly English magazine. Junior Scientist, published from Chennai, a quarterly English magazine. Science Reporter, Resonance, Yojana, Vijnana Kairali are the science magazines which are available. Experimental books, Experimental Chemistry, a book of experiments. Teachers' guidebooks, Teaching of Science, The Scientific Method, Science and Life, UNESCO Sourcebook for Science Teaching. Advantages of Science Library. The Science Library is helpful for the pupil to become aware of the latest developments in science. It helps the gifted students to explore new fields according to their capacity. It helps the slow learners to get a clear idea about the concepts which were not clear for them. Science Library always promotes interest towards science subjects, and this keeps people away from superstitions. Reading is indeed a pleasurable and worthwhile experience, promotes reading habits for children. Science Laboratory. The modern trend in the teaching of science is to emphasize student investigative activity as an integral part of the instructional process. In recent years, the purposes of teaching science at the secondary stage has undergone many changes as learner becomes the center of instructional process as constructor of knowledge. UNESCO Planning Commission report on science teaching and Kothari Commission has given important recommendations regarding the instructional process in science, as science is a subject which should be learned through experiences. So, to make science teaching effective and efficient, science laboratory is very essential. The important function of science laboratory is that deepening of the students' understanding that science concepts and theories are originated from his own natural environment. Planning of science laboratory. Laboratory should be an integral part of instruction in science. While constructing a science laboratory, the schools, science teachers and science educators should be asked to collaborate to build a standardized plan to draw out best educational purposes. The factors that should be kept in mind before setting the laboratory are the position of the laboratory in the school premises. If it is a multi-storied school, the laboratory should be kept at the ground floor. The place of the laboratory should be such that the gas and vapors do not affect the rest of the building. Second, how many people will be working in the laboratory at the same time and the minimum space required for each people for comfortable working. Next, space should be kept for the storeroom for chemicals and apparatus, gas chamber, etc. Electrical and plumbing facilities should be provided. Fittings and furniture should be planned to the convenient for use and economical in the long run. Design of the science laboratory. The design of the science laboratory as given by UNESCO states that there should be a study room 36 square meter for 36 students, which may be used for varied type of activities by the pupil such as writing, listening, drawing sketches and carrying out practical work. The laboratory room should be preferably lighted and ventilated so that light should preferably enter from the left. The total wall space taken up by the doors and windows should be above 1/4 of the floor space. The ventilators should be below 1 foot of the ceiling. Rooms should have high walls, large windows opposite to each other. Floor should be smooth without the possibility of dirt lodging. Furniture and fittings. Working tables where students have to work should be placed in parallel to the demonstration table, preferably between the windows. The tables should have shelves. The top of the table should be made smooth with tiles or can be given paraffin glazing. The height of each table may be around 3 feet. Second, demonstration table. Demonstration table should be kept on a platform made on the front of the room. The demonstration table should be in such a position that all pupils can view the demonstrations performed on the table. There should be electrical points near the demonstration table. A blackboard should be kept behind the table so that teacher can write equations, draw figures, connections, etc. while performing demonstrations. Third, sink to be fitted on the side walls of the laboratory. Next, there should be enough bottle shelves. Next, fume cupboard should be placed in one corner. Next, enough waste boxes should be kept in the lab. Next, there should be separate storeroom for keeping chemicals and apparatus. There should be light, water and drainage facilities. Selection and purchase of apparatus. Science teacher should prepare a list of experiments to be performed by the pupils and demonstrated by the teacher. The list of apparatus and materials to be purchased must be prepared according to the details of the above experiments. There should be many set of apparatus for the experiments to be done by the pupils and one set of apparatus for the experiments to be demonstrated. The number of units of costly apparatus must be reduced by allowing the pupils to work in combination. If the lab is almost saturated with apparatus, teachers must give priority in buying costly equipments like camera, LCD, some original working models, etc. The teacher must give due consideration to different parts of a subject in preparing the list. When the list is prepared, full specification regarding the type and nature of the material, quality, capacity, number of items, etc. should be given in detail. After finalizing the list, the teacher can invite quotations from science firms dealing with the supply of apparatus and chemicals. It is always better to select a reliable firm which has a fine reputation. When the items are delivered in the lab, the teacher must carefully verify each and every items in terms of quality, breakage, manufacturer, number, etc. And finally, it can be received to the laboratory and entered into the stock register and placed in suitable positions. Laboratory management. All the apparatus should be arranged in subject-wise almirahs. The glasswares should be kept separate from the other items. The chemicals should be arranged in alphabetic order with letter of the alphabet displayed on the shelf. The concentrated acids in bulk should be kept away from the reach of the pupils, and if separate chamber is there, it can be placed on that. There shall be 2 open shelves fixed on walls on either side of the recess for balances. In one shelf, glass topper bottles containing solutions of ammonia, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, silver nitrate, ferrous sulfate, barium chloride, barium nitrate, copper sulfate, litmus, etc. There may be another shelf for keeping common acids, both dilute and concentrated. Other chemicals should be provided in bottles with labels. Apparatus kept in the lab should be regularly inspected, cleaned, and always should be kept away from moisture. Lubricants should be applied in the joining, screws, etc. to keep the apparatus always proper in working condition. The apparatus which is not in use should be kept in boxes. The overall view of the laboratory should be systematic and appealing. Maintenance of laboratory workshop. There should be a small workshop with proper fittings for woodwork and metalwork in the laboratory. These equipments enable the laboratory work to be done without interruption and can suggest improvements in the selection of apparatus. In laboratory workshop, there should be small carpenter's bench and tools for woodwork. There should be metal working tools like hammers, pliers, spanner, drill press, nails, screws, nut and bolt, etc. Planning for the laboratory work. Science teaching should correlate with the laboratory work. People should be made well aware about the nature and scope of the work. It is not that students should come mechanically in the laboratory and imitate what others do or try. They should be aware about the concepts that they are working with. If there is large number of students, then the students should be admitted in batches in the laboratory. The laboratory should be decorated with the photos of scientists and their biographies. Pupils should use laboratory for solving problems by observing things and relationship around their problems. The problems to be worked in the laboratory are discussed in classrooms, and students can hypothesize their problems and real investigations can be done in the laboratory. Students can choose problems from their daily experiences and from nature other than the classroom problems. All things that the pupil does in the laboratory should be like a scientist working on problems to establish facts and relations. Laboratory rules. Laboratory is a place of potential dangers, so the science teacher must be the supreme authority in the laboratory and he should see that his orders are strictly obeyed. The sign of good discipline is an atmosphere of healthy work. The discipline should be maintained by making pupil familiar what should be done in the laboratory and what not. Some suggestions for making discipline in the laboratory are: first, no people should be allowed to enter in the laboratory in the absence of this teacher. Next, every student have a place assigned to him where he will perform his experiment. Third, the arrangement of laboratory should be such that there is no need for people to move away from his seat. Fourth, the practice of raising hands should be followed in the laboratory for calling the teacher. When pupils are working in groups, the discussion should be in low tone without affecting the class. All unnecessary talks should be strictly prohibited. Students should not be allowed to play with the apparatus. Reagent bottles should be returned to the shelf immediately after use and should not be misplaced. Waste filter papers, burned up matchsticks, etc. should not be thrown into the sink. Waste boxes should be kept for this purpose. Scribbling figures on furniture should never be permitted. All work should be finished 5 minutes before the end of the period, so that apparatus should be disconnected, washed and placed in proper place before leaving the seat. The teacher can take the help of the students to distribute apparatus and materials, to clean them after use and to replace them at the end. Bottles must be labeled carefully. Any breakage in the apparatus must be noted down in the breakage register. Wall of the laboratory must be decorated with the pictures of scientists and diagrams of apparatus. A bucket full of water or sand must be kept always in the laboratory for safety purpose. Accidents in the laboratory. Accidents are common in the laboratory, and science teacher has legal and moral responsibility to see that pupils as far as possible free from dangers of laboratory. The teacher should maintain proper discipline in the laboratory. Teacher should give a brief idea about the dangers caused by specific equipments. Dangerous chemicals should be kept in open shelves. The experiments should not be started with the permission of the teacher. Some of the substances should be handled with proper care are concentrated acids, strong alkalis, gases such as H2S, sulfur dioxide, chlorine and carbon monoxide, inflammable materials like petrol, alcohol, CS2, salt of lead, mercury and zinc. First aid. Accidents usually occur in the laboratory. It is essential that first aid kit should be kept in every laboratory in a separate cupboard. It must contain bandages, cotton, plaster, tincture iodine, boric acid, sodium bicarbonate, carbolic acid, Dettol, Vaseline, etc. Some common cases of first aid treatment are cut and wounds. Apply cotton dropped in tincture iodine, no washing unless wound is dirty. Dry burns. Prevent contact with air by covering it with linen soaked in Vaseline. Acid burns. Wash with plenty of water and then with 1% of sodium bicarbonate solution. Alkali burns. Wash with plenty of water and then with weak acetic acid or lemon juice. Phosphorus burns. Wash with plenty of water and cover with cotton wool soaked in silver nitrate solution. Eye injuries. Consult the doctor first. In specific cases like acid in the eye, it should be washed well in water and then with dilute sodium bicarbonate solution. If it is alkali in the eye, wash well in water and then with a solution of 1% boric acid. Electrical shock. Switch off the electrical supply, beat with wooden stick and admit in the hospital. Registers in the laboratory. First one, permanent stock register. It contains details of articles which are not liable to be consumed or broken. Some articles like ammeter, stopwatches, thermometer and voltmeter are also entered in this register as they are considered non-consumable. Working and non-working models, charts, telescopes and microscope can be entered in this register. Second, breakable stock register. It includes articles of glassware, flask, test tube, beakers, pipettes, burettes, funnels, conical flask, etc. Third, consumable stock register. It includes chemicals and other fluids liable to be consumed such as acids, alcohol, distilled water, potassium permanganate and the like. Fourth, order register. It includes the record of orders sent for the purchase of new apparatus. Requirement register. Requirement register highlights the future requirements of the lab by taking suggestions from teachers, science personnel, and the requirements should be given with priorities. Now, let us summarize this session. Books are the keys to wisdoms of treasure. Books are gates to land of treasure. Books are paths that upward lead. Books are friends, come let us read. This is a famous saying that shows the importance of books and its use. The education commissions and policies as stated by government from time to time stress the importance of the use of library and laboratory in Indian schools as not as expected, and they need thorough revision. In this module, we discuss about various aspects of science library, effective use of library, design and planning of science laboratory, laboratory rules, common accidents in the laboratory, and the first aid to be carried out, etc. The module gives a deeper understanding of science library and laboratory. Before we attend the next unit, please try to answer the following question. First, make a list of the science journal that you can keep in your science library. What are the objectives of organizing a science library? Now, some books are to be tasted, others swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. This is a statement given by Bacon. Discuss this statement. Next, draw out the rules that people should observe while working in the laboratory. Next, make a science library of your own in your home and practice collection and reading of books as your hobby. Now, let us see the books for your reference. Policies for Science Education, given by Fitzpatrick, published by Bureau of Publications, Teachers College, Columbia University, New York. Modern Trends in Science Education, by T.T. Joseph, published from Kottayam. Science Education, Theoretical Basis of Teaching and Pedagogical Analysis, a book by T.K. Matthew and Molekuti T.M., published by Rainbow Book Publishers, Thiruvananthapuram. Now, a new UNESCO sourcebook for science teaching published by University Press Limited, Hyderabad. Innovative science teaching for physical science teachers given by Radha Mohan and published by Prentice Hall of India Private Limited, New Delhi. Hope you have enjoyed this session. See you next time. Till then, bye.